Yo, Liam here back for another episode of the Minecraft Survival Games. Today we're playing on the map The Survival Games, and I got some big news for you guys. I have committed to a college after thinking long and hard about it. I finally know where I'm going to school next year, and I'm going to be a member of the class of 2020 at Clemson University. Yes, that is the school I am going to, and I am so friggin' excited. Okay, one of those guys got a stone sword. If you notice, I'm actually wearing, an altered version of my skin right now, to celebrate. This is orange, purple, and white. Those are the Clemson colors, and I thought it would be fitting to wear, after all, because I am super happy that I am going to Clemson. So, anyway, I kind of want to take the time this episode to explain why I picked Clemson. Because a bunch of people, have asked me this, and, you know, I never get to explain myself fully. Like, it's more than, for me at least, picking a college is more than just, like, one factor, one statistic. Okay, that guy didn't even get a hit on me, I don't think. Yeah, it's more than, like, one factor, one statistic. There were a lot of things that went into this decision, and at the end of the day, I feel like I made the right one. There are a couple sacrifices I had to make here and there, with my decision, but I ultimately think I picked the right one. So, let me just explain my thought process through why I picked Clemson and kind of like describe the school for you guys and all that stuff. So, anyway, let's start off with the schools I applied to and got in. So, I applied to 7 schools. I got into 5 of them. I got into Texas A&M, OU, Georgia, Purdue, and Clemson. Those are the 5 schools I got into. At the University of Texas, I got put in a transfer program. I screwed up my application. It's kind of a long story, but basically, I shot myself in the foot. I had a much better shot and then changed one thing last second and shot myself in the foot, so I got put in a transfer program. So anyway, how that would work is the University of Texas is centered at Austin. That's where University of Texas is, but they have a bunch of smaller UT campuses all around the state, like UT San Antonio, UT Dallas, UT Arlington. They have a ton of those, and I know other states have that, like UNC has like Asheville, Wilmington, you know, kind of like the alternate ones as opposed to like UNC Chapel Hill. Like other schools do that, if that makes sense. So it's not just Texas that does it. But anyway, the transfer program they offered me is I'd have to go to one of those schools for my freshman year. Hold on. I'd have to go to one of those alternate UTs for my freshman year, and then if I made a 3.0 GPA, which is about an average of an 85, for those of you that don't know how the GPA scale works, I'd have to make a 3.0, and then I could transfer to UT guaranteed, like, no problem. But I didn't want to do that. I want to go to the same school all 4 years. I don't want to do, like, transfer any of that thing. And then I got denied from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. But that's not surprising since they barely take out-of-state kids. And I initially got deferred, which means they push you up. Deferred means you submitted your application early, and then they still need time to decide, so they push it over to the regular admission pool. It's kind of difficult to explain without getting into all the terms and stuff. What is this thing? This was not always here. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that this was not always here. Or was it? I don't remember this thing. Oh well, maybe it's just been a while since I've, like, played this game, like, really in depth, okay? But anyway, so those are my options, and rather than... First, I want to say why I didn't pick the 4 of the 5 that I got into. You know, it's kind of easier to narrow this down by explaining what I didn't like about the other school. Okay. So, A&M is probably the school I was definitely not going to go to. Reason, I don't want to go there is my parents went there, and that's one thing. And I don't know how many of you guys are that familiar with Texas A&M. It's well known in Texas, obviously. But I don't know. every Aggie, that's what Texas A&M students who call it Aggies, every Aggie just has, like, an attitude. It's kind of hard to describe. It's kind of like an extreme love for their school, but it's kind of, they present it in a way that makes them look like an asshole, if that kind of makes sense. Like, here's an example. When I told people where I got into school, you could, if you asked an Aggie, they'd be like, A&M, hands down. That's where you need to go. A&M, that is the best option you have. And if I asked someone who wasn't an Aggie, they'd be like, well, Purdue's good for this reason, Clemson's good for this reason, Georgia's good for this reason. Like, see, A&M students, they can't, they're closed-minded, and it's like, they just think their school is so great, and they have all these traditions, which I find rather stupid, and I just didn't like the atmosphere. And when I took the admissions tour, all they talked about was their silly traditions, and I didn't really like it. But, to A&M's defense, it is a really good school. A&M is a really good school, and, like, yeah, it's a good school. That's one of the reasons I applied to it. But the main reason I applied to it is because, I was an automatic admit to the school. If you live in the state of Texas and you're in the top 25% of your high school class and you hit a certain score on the SAT, you're automatically in the school. So what I did was, A&M was the first school I applied to because I knew I'd be guaranteed, and I wanted to get my application in so I could get into their business school before it filled up, just in case I needed a backup. And they sent me my acceptance letter before the first wave of acceptances went out. So I was like first one in the door basically, and it was great. And yeah, I mean, A&M is a hard school to get in, especially, it's not a hard school to get in, but it's a good school. OU's kind of the same way. Anyway, OU, the reason I didn't pick there is just because, like, as much as I hate to say it, I just feel like I'm smarter than that school. I don't know, a lot of the kids, like, OU's a good school, don't get me wrong, OU is a good school. Jesus, talk about giving up in the game. Yeah, OU's a good school, don't get me wrong, it is, but a lot of the kids from my school who go there are kind of on the lower end of the spectrum, if that makes sense. Like, they don't make grades that are as good as mine. I don't know, they do, like, dumber things, but, like, OU is a good school. I definitely trust that it's a good school. That's why I applied to it. Anyway, I took the tour there. I took 2 tours there. I took once before I was admitted, and I liked it. And then I took one after I was admitted to get, like, the real deal kind of look at it. And when I was looking at the school again, I got into their honors college too. When I was looking at the regular campus and, like, all around, I'm just like, okay, it has a lot of opportunities, but I honestly feel like I'm a bit better than this. And then when I talked to the honors college person, she talked about how it's just a different, like, the honors college just tries to think differently, and, like, you learn how to, like, debate, but, like, you learn how to, like, debate with other people in a professional way and contradict ideas without insulting each other. But she didn't really, like, give that good of a presentation about it, and I didn't really like it. And then the next school I looked at was Purdue. And Purdue is a difficult one to explain. It's a really difficult one to explain, and a bunch of people who saw my options thought I should go to Purdue. In fact, a lot more people told me I should go to Purdue rather than Clemson. But, you know, it's my opinion. It's my opinion of the schools that matters. So anyway, the reason a bunch of people were telling me to go to Purdue is because out of all the schools I applied to, Purdue is the highest ranked. Kind of. The reason I say kind of is because rankings are very inconsistent. Because so many websites and so many magazines rank colleges, but, you know, to rank a college, that means you have to look for certain criteria. And different magazines, different news sites rank stuff differently. Like, they might be like, okay, well, we need to factor this in, we need to factor this in, oh, we don't need to consider that as much. So anyway, for undergraduate business school, Purdue, the one on U.S. News and World Report, which is the one most people look at, Purdue was ranked 22 and Clemson was ranked 50. So, you know, 22 is obviously a bit better than 50. Okay, 22 is obviously a bit better than 50, but, I'll explain why I chose a school with the worst rank in a sec. But anyway, just describing the Purdue campus, I didn't like it. I really didn't like it that much. And I visited it once, and it was like my top pick. It was my top pick after visiting it the first time. And then I went back again after being admitted. I actually have a Purdue poster back there. It says, Liam is a Boilermaker, boiler up, because Purdue is the Boilermakers. Whatever that means. Anyway, when I looked back for my admitted visit, I didn't like it. It was very cold, and I hate cold weather. Living in the South, I really hate cold weather. And a bunch of people were saying how hot it was. Like, oh, they're like, oh, isn't this weather nice? It's like finally warming up. And I'm like, warming up? It's like 45 degrees out here. What are you talking about? And anyway, students just didn't look like they were doing normal things. I can't explain it, but like I saw it on a Sunday and a Monday, and I didn't really see any student enjoying themselves. It just looked like they were all busy studying, and if they weren't studying, they would like just, I don't know, like the kids just looked weird. They, like, everyone kind of just looked like they had rolled out of bed. Like, I can't, it's hard to describe without having seen it for yourself. The people just looked like they were doing weird things. They kind of just looked weird. And that's kind of my main complaint about it. I got a really odd feeling from the school. Oh man, that one was kind of close. I just got an odd feeling from the school, and bottom line, my gut told me Purdue was not it for me. You know, I mean, there's sometimes when your gut can be stupid, but if it's trying to decide where you're gonna live for the next 4 years, you know, you might want to listen to it a bit. So anyway, here, I might as well just put all this in a chest. So anyway, last is Georgia, and Georgia ended up being my second favorite. If I did not go to Clemson, did I say Purdue was the highest ranked? No, Georgia was. I forgot about that. Georgia is like 16 or something like that for undergraduate business. But anyway, when I toured Georgia, I really liked it. It was the only school I saw. It was the only school I looked at where I actually got to follow a student around and go to college classes. You know, I sat in on 3 classes. I sat in on an accounting class, and since I want to be a business major, I'm going to be taking accounting classes. And it sounded interesting, but I didn't know some of the terms, so it was kind of hard to follow along in the lesson. But I feel like I would have liked it if I had known what was going on. Then I sat in a history of economics class, and it was kind of more of a history lesson about some like old tax or tariff bills from back in the day, and I didn't really like it as much. But I mean, it was fine. And then the last one I saw was a psychology class, and of all the days I could have toured the school, they were learning about the psychology of sex, and it was hilarious. Sitting in that class was so funny. Like, you guys know Snapchat, right? I posted a picture on my Snap story where literally on the board in front of like 200 college kids, the questions, like some of the questions were displayed like, how often do you masturbate? And then everyone had to like answer in a poll. They have these like white clicker things that do anonymous polls. So the teachers, or the professors, my bad, can get like a poll of the entire room. And then there were other questions which the teacher was like, okay, let's see how much you guys know about sex. And then like she displayed a question like, can you break your penis? And then like the class has to vote. Fun fact, you can. Yeah, that one surprised me. I didn't know you could do that, but, you know, apparently you can break your penis somehow. So, if I learned anything from Georgia that day, it's that. But anyway, I really liked the school. The kids looked a lot more like, the kids looked like they were doing more normal things there than they were at Purdue. But the main reason I did not like it as much as Clemson is just because people seem like they genuinely didn't want to be there, if that makes sense. It seemed like students were a bit unhappy that they were there. Not, like, completely happy. Like, no one looked like they were dreading school or anything like that. But, like, sitting in the classes, you could just tell students would rather be doing something else. It would, like, be somewhere else. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like they liked the school, but they didn't at the same time. It's kind of hard to describe. I feel like a lot of the kids there liked a lot more of the social stuff than kind of the classes, and I feel like a lot more of them wanted to graduate and, like, get started with things than I saw at Clemson. So anyway, I'm now going to describe why I like Clemson so much. When I got there, everyone was super friendly. Clemson, one of the main things they advertise is the Southern hospitality and the Clemson family concept. And it's definitely real. It is most definitely real. I was there. Everyone was super friendly, made sure I was taken care of. I had to ask a couple of students for directions to places, and they were super helpful. Everyone was really nice. Kids around the school genuinely looked happy. They looked normal. They looked like they acted like they wanted to be at school. I saw so many kids, like, smiling, talking with each other, laughing, you know, having fun. And I was there on a Thursday. Like, it's not like it was a Saturday or something special. It was a Thursday in the middle of March. And I really liked the atmosphere. Just because everyone genuinely seemed like they wanted to be there. So anyway, I visited Clemson twice. Once before I was admitted, and then once after I was admitted. And I really liked it both times. After visiting it the first time, my thought about it was, man, I really like this school, but I kind of wish it was ranked higher. And then the second time around, I'm like, you know what? I really like this atmosphere. So some other things about Clemson I might as well talk about before getting into the whole rank thing, because that's kind of what I'm going to finish off with, is, I don't know, what are some other things about Clemson? Football. Football is obviously a big thing at Clemson. It's one of their huge selling points. You guys know me. I really hate football. I don't think it's that interesting. But I talked to a couple of students there, and a lot of them were like, oh yeah, I really hated football, but, like, ever since I started coming to Clemson, I've never missed a home game. Like, they're like, it's just so much fun. No one goes to, like, watch the game. Everyone just goes to, you know, have fun. And I'm like, man, that sounds really cool. Clemson obviously has a really good football team and everything. And so that's one of the things, like, even the social events that, like, I'd be hesitant to do, students are having fun with. Rowing is something I might want to continue in college. I don't know why I swam over here when I have a boat. Some of you were probably, like, tearing your hair out over that. Rowing is something I might want to continue in college. I haven't fully decided yet, but I'm definitely going to look into it, and Clemson has a pretty good rowing team. There's actually a lake right by Clemson, which is nice. So I don't, because I live like 30 minutes away from the lake at the moment, so it's a pain in the ass to get myself to crew every day. But at Clemson, the lake's right there. There's just 1 2-hour practice every day, so it's just like what I've been doing in high school, which is already enough. You know, that's already a lot of time to commit to a sport. And, you know, I really, it's something I'm really going to look into, and I think I'm going to like it. And, talking to some of the students, in the business school, you know, I think I'm going to be fine going to that business school. And the main thing that I was hesitant about was rank, because I got into some better ranked schools. such as Purdue and Georgia and A&M. All three of those are ranked above Clemson for undergraduate business on U.S. News and World. But anyway, one thing that I was talking, like, on my admitted tour, I was talking with my tour guide, and I'm like, hey, I have a question, because my tour guide was a finance major, which is most likely what I'm gonna major in. I'm like, hey, since you're a senior here and you're a finance major, how, like, have you and your friends been getting jobs lined up? It's like, oh, yeah, I've had my job lined up since August, and a couple of my friends have had theirs lined up since October, which kind of, like, eased the pressure for me, because here's what I realized. There's a ton of schools out there ranked a lot worse than 50th place, and kids are still getting good jobs out of college for business. And, you know, I went to a difficult private high school, and I feel like I'm gonna think college is really easy going through it, which means I'm gonna get really good grades. And I'm definitely gonna get good grades because my parents wouldn't pay out, or my mom wouldn't pay out a state tuition otherwise. But yeah, that's kind of, like, I'm gonna be fine. There's a lot worse I can do than 50. And here's the reason why I didn't put too much emphasis on rank. You know, how important is rank? You know, there's a lot more, like, I'd rather be ranked number 50 for undergraduate business compared to 22 if I like the school a lot more, which is exactly what happened. I mean, look at it this way. I lost the guy, I couldn't find him. Look at it this way. Say you got deported from your country and you had to live somewhere else. You were not allowed to live in your home country anymore. Where would you live and how would you make that decision? Well, I mean, would you prioritize English-speaking countries? Would you... I don't have an Apple. How lame is that? Would you prioritize English-speaking countries? Would you prioritize countries based off of cost of living? Countries that are the most beautiful? Countries that have the most beautiful women or the most handsome guys, depending on what gender you're into? You know, like, what do you base your decision off of? It's kind of like the same thing for college. Sure, academic ranking can be one thing. I hit the toggle perspective key by accident. Sure, academic ranking is one thing, but that's the only thing those other schools outranked over Clemson. You know, the atmosphere was better. I love that Clemson's in South Carolina. I don't even know if I mentioned that. It's in South Carolina, so it's in the South, which means good weather, good-looking girls. You know, like, it's gonna be fine. The Southern hospitality thing, it's gonna be great. You know, I realize that everything at Clemson is just how I would want in a college. I like it. And another good thing I like is, there's several different business majors you can get, such as finance, accounting, marketing, management, and I don't know the... Oh, shoot. I'm like, what was that? And to be honest, I don't know the difference between them. I really don't. But at Clemson, the good thing is, your freshman year, you take classes in finance, accounting, management, marketing, all that stuff, and then by the end of your sophomore year, you pick which major you want. So that way I get to kind of shop around and see what I like, and see what I want to do with the rest of my life, because at the moment, I don't know the difference between some of them. So, yeah, that's basically why I chose Clemson. I liked everything about it more than all my other schools, except the rank. And you know what? That's fine with me. I'd rather go to a school I'm going to have fun at and truly enjoy. I'd rather go to a school like that than a school with a high rank that I wouldn't enjoy. So that's basically it. Please leave a like if you're happy for me for finally picking my school, because it has been a long journey and I'd really appreciate you guys' support with that one. I appreciate any congratulations or anything. I'm sure y'all were thinking about putting in the comments or whatever. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.